Hi, and welcome to the Ladybug Laboratory podcast. I am your host, Lily, and this is a podcast about knitting, sewing, crocheting, crafty things in general. I just want to start by saying a big thank you to all of my returning viewers and a welcome to any new viewers. Last time that I recorded, I had 99 subscribers, and by the time that I'm recording now, I have 176. And I really am absolutely overwhelmed by the amount of people that have commented, have contacted me, have said to me that they enjoy this podcast, and I'm flabbergasted by how much support I've received from the general knitting and podcasting community, and I just want to say a big thank you to everybody. And as a side note to that, I really want to give an especially big thanks to The Charm of It with Ava. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. She gave me a shout out on her last podcast, and it was so funny because I was watching her podcast and I heard her say, oh, it's a new podcast. I believe she just released her 5th episode. And I was like, maybe I should go check it out because, I just released my 5th episode. Maybe I can connect with them. And then I'm sitting on the floor cutting out pieces for my sewing, and the computer was propped up playing the video, and I heard you say my name, and my jaw just dropped, and I was staring at the computer, and I was like, no. Oh my gosh. So, a big thank you. That was such an honor. It really was. So as a side note, today is August 17th. This is episode 6. You can find me on Instagram as ladybug.lily. You can find me on Ravelry as ladybuglily. And there is a Ravelry group for the podcast where I post all of my show notes. And that is the Ladybug Laboratory podcast group. All of those links will be in the down bar. As a side note, I do have a thread in the group that is called Ask the Ladybug, and I put that there just for people to put questions. I have gotten one post there and also several inbox messages about how I do the black border in my stained glass blanket. So I just wanted to say that I'm going to touch on this a little bit more later, but because I've gotten so many requests, I'm probably going to be doing a special segment about that. So, on that note, I am not wearing anything that I have knit today because it is too darn hot. Today we're going to talk about some works in progress, finished objects, all the normal crafty sections, knit-alongs, some books that I've been reading, and then just some prattle about my life and the trip that I just got back from. So, also, my camera is rotated today from how it usually is, so if I'm looking off to the side, I apologize. My show notes are down here, so hopefully that makes me better aimed at the camera, but sorry about that. So let's move on to works in progress. Alright, my first work in progress today is my stained glass blanket, and most of you guys have seen this before. If you've seen the podcast before, you have. So I have finished my first pyramid! Look at it! This is super exciting to me. I'm so pumped. So basically, here's what happened. I kind of gave up on doing super balanced colors. So I have a lot of colors that are warm toned, and I basically just decided I tend toward warm tones anyway. I'm not gonna stress about it. I'm just gonna make squares. The other thing that I decided to do is make scrap squares from yarns that I hadn't done anything with yet, which I'm not sure if that was a good idea or not. So if I've made something with the yarn that's in here, I will tell you what I've made. But I'm starting to do yarns I haven't made things with yet. Most of them were already caked up because I had thought I was going to make something and then the yarn didn't work or the pattern didn't work and I just frogged it. But some of them were not. I caked up some skeins just to make squares. So, that said, here's the ones that I have done since you last saw this. I did the camo square. And this is some Cascade Heritage. It's got 2 plies of dark green, one of light green, one of like a tan, let's see, Lighting is not that great today. One of like a tan and one of a darker brown. So that was the first one that I did. The other one I did is my Ravelry square, which you guys have seen this yarn before in the Oktoberfest sock. Then I started on a second pyramid. So I have a couple standalone squares that I've done. This one, I believe, is also Cascade Heritage, and it's the checkers colorway. This one is a little bit weird. I will try and put in the video right now a picture of what it looked like in the skein. I'm not sure if I have one, but if I do, I'll put it in. It looked like it was going to be like variegated reds and grays and blacks. It ended up being like a really long, almost gradient version of that. So I only got, you know, the one section in the square, but that's alright. I have not made anything out of this. Yeah. And I hadn't made anything out of the camo either. Ravelry I did. You've seen that. So this is a deep brown. This is like a really generic sock yarn. This is like one of the first sock yarns that I got. I got it at Joann's, I think. I think it's probably like Red Heart sock yarn or something. I made my dad a pair of socks with these, and I did the double helix socks, and I didn't reverse the colors like the pattern calls for, so this was the cuff of the sock, and I made the sole in like a forest green, which I don't have any left of. I used that up a while ago. And then I have, this is going to be weird because there's yarn attached to it. I haven't weaved in any of the ends. The ends are all weaved into my completed pyramid, but not on this one. Okay, so then I have these ones, and this one is my springtime square. This is from a pair of socks that I just frogged. They were ankle socks that I made too short and they slid off my ankles. I also made another pair of ankle socks out of this. This is Knit Picks Stroll Tonal, and the other pair I still have. This one is Knit Picks Stroll Tonal in Thunderhead. I've not made anything out of that yet. This one is discontinued Knit Picks. I forget what it is. It's basically the old version of Stroll. It's in Auburn. It's kettle dyed, and this is what I made my first pair of Oktoberfest socks out of, the one for me. This one is Ultraviolet Catastrophe, which is a self-striping yarn, and I was a little bit conflicted about this one because one of the stripes is black, as you can see. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. I decided to put it in anyway. We're going to see how it looks with the black bordering. I'm not sure. I literally cast on like 2 rows of the next square, and then I got distracted, and I went on vacation. So I'm going to set this aside for a little bit. You probably won't see that much progress on it for a while, because last time I said I was running out of scraps, and that's true. I'm now running out of yarns at all. I don't know if I have any. I maybe have 2 more that I can add. So I'll probably finish that square, and then I'm probably just going to set it aside for a while. You won't see much more of that. So that is my first work in progress. Second work in progress is the Sontag that I mentioned that I was going to start last time. And if you guys watch Eva Christie of the Eva Christie Handknitting podcast, you will have heard of the Sontag, and it is a Dutch shawl that it's an old pattern concept that it has like a back piece that comes up, and then it has 2 longer pieces that wrap across your chest over your shoulders, and you tie them in the back, and then it's got like a string in the front. My mother-in-law had requested a Sontag last Christmas. Well, she made the request last Christmas for the following Christmas, which is the one that's coming up. Because she works at a historical farm in historical clothing as like a tour guide. So she wanted something that she could wear that was historical. So I found a pattern from the 1860s. That's pretty historical. That's about as historical as you can get. I found a pattern from the 1860s that I'm going to use. It gets a lot bigger when it's blocked, but here it is. I did adapt the pattern a little bit, and it was adapted for another museum that does a similar historical thing, and I specifically used their suggestions from their website about how to make it fit. Part of the reason for that is because most patterns that were published in the 1860s were for rich people, which meant corsets. So this, obviously, we don't wear corsets now, and also people that worked on a farm in the 1860s didn't wear corsets either because then they couldn't breathe. So I made it a little bit bigger, I adapted it a little bit. I got to about here, at which point I decided to plug everything into my spreadsheet, figure out how far I had gotten, how much yarn I had left, and I was 13% through the pattern, 19% through my yarn. Of course I was. So this is using Miss Babs Yowza in corset, which I thought was a fitting colorway for this. I got another hank, and it's very, very similar. It really is. I'll switch them so you can see. Basically, the difference is that this one has these lighter streaks that the other one doesn't have. Otherwise, they are basically the same. I have not decided how I'm gonna do this yet. I might switch to the second skein maybe when I get to the front section, so the back is one, the front is another. I was thinking about frogging it and making this garter edging the second skein, but I don't really want to frog it. This is like 3 solid days of work, and since I'm not working right now, that's a lot. I haven't decided, which means I haven't worked on it since I made that realization about a week and a half ago. I cast it on at the start of Ravelry, which I will talk about later, but Eva Christie of the Eva Christie Handknitting podcast is doing a knit along for this, and basically you knit a Sontag, and at the same time you read Tess of de Herbeville. Which I'll talk about when I get to the section on the books that I've been reading. So I'm pretty happy with how this is coming out. I am using size 7 needles. I've got a pretty tight gauge, which is good because this is a thinner worsted. So it's smaller in gauge than the others were, than the pattern called for, but I think it'll keep the fabric pretty neat. I don't know what the deal will be with this one. We'll see. So that's my second work in progress. My third work in progress is literally about to be a finished object. It is being kept in my socks bag, which I use all the time for all of my socks. This is the Dancing Sheep on Etsy. You should totally get one, and it's adorable because it has socks on it. So, I am making my disco dance socks. And for those of you that haven't heard, my husband is super into hand knit socks because his feet are weird, and so they actually fit him, and he's also super into neon colors, and I found this yarn, which is perfect. One of the problems that I ran into with this is a discontinued line. I found it in the back of a shelf at a local yarn store at the Piedmont Yarns. It is Regia Floromania in colorway 07188, whatever that means. 75% wool, doesn't specify, and 25% merino. Take a look at this. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Take a look at this versus this. I don't know if you can tell, but this whole side, right about here on the outside, is sun faded. It's not bleached, but it's definitely faded. I do not like pulling from the center of a skein or a hank. I hate it. I feel like it always collapses in the middle on me and turns into a tangled mess. But I did that for these socks because I knew the center wouldn't be as faded. And I love them! Look at that! It's so bright! Oh my goodness. Okay, so I did heels, cuffs, and toes out of the razzleberry that I had left over. Literally, I used one skein for my Oktoberfest sock. I haven't started the second sock yet. Then I used the remnants from that same skein to do the square in my blanket, and then I did the heel, toe, and cuff, and literally I had like a yard and a half left. It was perfect. So, oh my goodness, the lighting is terrible. So it's got this long section of pink. I'm not really sure why the pink is so long, but there's almost 2 types of pink here, like a darker one and a lighter one. and then it goes into the orange, the like highlighter yellow, neon green, and then back out again. It's not a strict self-striping, which I thought it would be, and I'm a little bit disappointed in that. And I think that's basically just because that's what my expectations were. I don't know that I would have been disappointed if I had known it was going to be like this. But because I thought it was a strict self-striping, I did get the Smooth Operator Socks pattern, which is about how to do a afterthought heel that works really well. This one looks a little bit bulbous. The pattern usually doesn't end up like that. It fits my husband perfectly. Like I said, he's got a really funky shaped heel. So I actually did the decreases slower on his heel, and I didn't decrease as much, so the end is still thicker than it usually is. I also did a little bit of a club toe. Like it's a normal rounded toe, but it's just stopped. So here's what I did. I did a tubular cast on, and I did that in size 2 needles because the cast on edge or the bind off edge is always where he has the most trouble getting it over his heel. Then I switched to 1.5s. I did 2x2 ribbing. This is a 64 stitch sock. I did vanilla, put in the waist yarn for the heel, more vanilla, did the heel, did the toe. Toe is a basic rounded toe. I don't want to give too much away about how I did the heel or the toe because of the pattern. It is paid for pattern. I highly suggest it. I have made afterthought heel socks for him before, and they didn't really work that well. I mean, afterthought heel ended like an inch up the edge of his heel, and like they get over his foot, but they don't fit. These work perfectly. That said, he has not seen them. I made him try them on with his eyes closed, because these are going to be a surprise. He doesn't know that I'm making them. I think he may have watched me buy the yarn, but he was pretty much zoned out in the corner of the store, so I doubt that he remembers it. I am so happy with these. As a side note, this is the first pair of vanilla socks that I have ever done. Ever. The first pair of socks that I made were plain stockinette, but they were knit flat, and you seamed them up the back, and I have no idea why the pattern asked me to knit them flat. I don't know, but ever since then, I've only ever done pattern socks. This is the first pair of vanilla socks that I made, and I am absolutely astounded at how fast they knit up. Part of the reason I chose vanilla is because I thought it was going to be a strict self-striping, but I think it works pretty well for this one. There's a lot of sort of fuzz at the edges here, but I think it still works really well to be vanilla. They went so quickly. I decided to do that because I was going to be on vacation. I knew I was going to be constantly having conversations, and I wanted something simple. Oh my goodness, I need to always have a pair of vanilla socks on the go. I have been converted. Rachel, you convinced me. My friend Rachel of the Arbor Twist podcast has been trying to convince me to do vanilla socks for like a month. Totally worth it. She's right. You should try vanilla socks. That said, and I really do mean they went crazy quickly, because I started these on Saturday morning. I finished this sock Sunday night, Monday night. But this is while I was on vacation and at the beach literally all day. I started the second pair on the plane yesterday. Yeah, I'm almost done. This is the second sock, and what I think is really cool about this is because of how it lined up, it's like green where the pink is, pink where the green is, green where the pink is, which I think is so cool. These are going to look awesome. They're not going to match, but it doesn't even matter. All I have left to do is the heel, and I've already picked up the stitches for it. I love these socks. I love these socks, and I know that Randall's going to love them too. I love how they sort of fold exactly in the middle. I also did the same number. I did 64 rows for the cuff of the plain, and then 64 rows for the foot as well, so they match up exactly, which is kind of cool. I'm so happy with these. I think he's gonna die when he sees them. I always like to have something for him to open everywhere we go, and Christmas time we have his birthday on the 20th, our anniversary on the 21st, and then we always have a gift opening with my family and a gift opening with his family, so that's 4 things. It's not always 4 pairs of socks. In fact, it's often not 4 pairs of socks, but I think 3 of them are going to be socks this year, and I'm pretty pumped about that. Speaking of socks, finished objects. Be right back. Okay, I only have one finished object today, but I am super happy with it. And that is my Farmer Saffron socks. Look at how that striping worked out. Isn't that amazing? So these are knit on size 1.5s. I did them toe up. I used the Farmer McDonald pattern from the Socktopus book, which is a cuff down pattern. I did not do their construction for the sock. I didn't. I basically just took the motif. So I started toe up, and the reason for that, well, there's a couple of reasons for that. I wasn't sure how I was going to do the cuff. I know I talked about this last time. Again, because my husband's feet are weird. And also, Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off is the only bind off / cast on that really works with my husband's foot. So it's just easier to do toe up socks for him. So here's what I did. I used Judy's Magic Cast On. I increased for the toe, basic rounded toe. I did the instep as directed in the pattern, except of course that the chart is backwards. So like it goes in that pattern, right? So in the pattern, right here, it goes down like this, whereas in the pattern, it would have gone down like that. I mean, it's the same effect, essentially. It's just which direction each crossover is going in. Whatever. Don't even care. So, I went all the way up. I did a basic toe-up heel flap and gusset. I did a much larger gusset than one usually does for a toe-up heel flap. And when I got to the cuff, he prefers them to be more tightly fitted. I was considering adding 8 stitches in the cuff to make it looser, but be able to do the pattern all the way around. And last time I talked about how when I first started, I cast on, cuff down, and I got to the pattern, and the pattern part was too tight to fit over his heel. So I ended up deciding to just do the pattern part up the front. So the back is plain stockinette, and the front has the pattern. And what was beneficial about that is that it kept the same sort of self-striping motif as the foot had. This is so bizarre to me because I've used this yarn before to make my brother a pair of socks. Same yarn, same dye lot. I bought the two at the same time, and his turned out completely differently. The only change, I mean, it was a different pattern, so different yarn usage, of course, but I also used a size up in needles. I'm going to put a picture of his socks here just so that you can see the difference. I am super duper happy with these. So these are my Farmer Saffron socks. This is my progress keeper for where I was last time that I talked to you. I had just started the gusset. So I finished the first sock, and then I finished the second sock as well, making this a finished object. So that is all that I have this week for finished objects. I almost, of course, had the disco dance socks done. They'll be done next time. You know they will. There's no way I'm going to wait. But yeah, from here we're going to move on to other crafts and then mail call and knit-alongs. Alright, so this next segment is on the table, which is where I talk about things that I'm sewing. I'm still working briefly on the Cecelia quilt top. It's not going to be done for a while, so don't get your hopes up. But I got a lot of work done on my Miss Frizzle dress, which is the dress that I've been making with the books pattern and the words pattern, double-sided. I'm in love with it! So I'm doing this pattern. Okay, this is Simplicity 8085. The reason that I'm doing this is because it's pretty easy to do a double-sided when you're doing a wrap dress. So, I have made 2 entire dress pieces. So I've got the skirt, the bodice, for both of them. Okay, I will put a picture here. I already posted it on Instagram, but I'll put it here of me wearing the unfinished dress piece for the books version. Now, as you know, I have been taking a sewing class, and I just want to take a minute and say that if you have a chance to take a sewing class from Barbara, I don't remember her last name at the moment, but I will put it in the show notes. You should. I took her basics to advanced class, and it was incredible. There were so many techniques that I didn't even know I was missing that she taught me. It was totally worth it. Completely. I don't usually do classes a ton. I feel like a lot of it I can find for myself on the internet. In this case, this is going to be the best garment I have ever made. I am so excited for it, and I now have so many tools that I can go take and use in the future. Take her class. Seriously, totally worth it. Incredible class. So all that I have left to do essentially is sew them together, right sides together, turn them inside out, do some hem stitching, and show the shoulders. So I did a basic stitch on the shoulders just so I could try it on and make adjustments. Then I have to unseam the shoulders to do the reversible stuff in it, and I'll seam them back up. That will not be done anytime soon. And I will touch on why in Prattle, but basically life stuff is going on, so usually I'm hiccuping, I'm so sorry. Hi everybody, I'm back. Sorry I slipped off earlier to get some water, and then I realized that it was way later than I thought it was. So I had to go out, and now I'm back. The lighting's going to be a little bit different because it's a lot later and I have terrible lighting in this room. But I also have a kitty. This is Bodie. He's my little snuggle bum. And he only comes up when it is dark enough at night that you really can't get a good picture of him because he's a black cat, and when there's no light and his fur doesn't shine off the light very well, you know how that works. But he is a snuggle bum, and he's just going to sit up here with me. I'll see if I can make him come closer to the camera. But moving back to where we were talking about my lovely flannel. I think the other image of it is a little bit better. But oh, there he goes. He misses my hand. But I don't know what I'm going to make with this yet. It's fat quarters. I was thinking of getting like a deep brown to go with it, and maybe use it to make one king size quilt for the bed, and then another like lap quilt. I'm not really sure. I've never quilted with flannel before, so I don't really know what I'm doing. On the internet, it says to use not as many triangles, fewer corners, don't do tiny pieces, you want them to be a little bit bigger. But if any of you guys have ever sewn with flannel before, please let me know, because I have no idea what I'm doing with this, to be honest with you. So that is the end of mail call for today. I don't have anything on the frame. I don't remember if I said that, but I haven't gotten anything done on my cross stitch. Next up, some books that I've read. So as per the suggestion of the grocery girls, I read Gone Girl, and it was amazing. I will put a picture of the book here. I read that book in like 36 hours, and that was while I was working and packing, and yeah, it was a fantastic book. I highly suggest it. What is that? Oh, that's your nail. And then I also read Tess of D'Urberville, which was for the Sontag along, and it was so sad. It was just a really sad book. It was good. It was very well written, and the theme was very evident in the book, and it was not in a forceful way though, and it really took a hard look at how we are shaped by the society around us, even when we don't think we are. Wow, it's really getting darker. But it was really sad. I'm glad I read it, but it was really sad. So moving on, in terms of knit-alongs, in terms of 50 points for Gryffindor, I have negative 90 points, I believe. I don't want to get up and get the book because the cat's here, but I'm pretty sure it's negative 90 points. If it's not, I will put it in the down bar. And I would have been down to much lower than that, I think. Negative 82? I'm not sure. No, I would have been down to negative 80 points, except that I had to get that second skein of yarn to finish the Sontag. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that. Then in terms of the Glasgow subway knit along, I finally made it to Govan. That was with the disco dance sock. The first one put me right over into Govan. I was like 50 meters behind. So I knew it was going to put me there, but yeah, it's really exciting. And the Sontag, I already showed that to you, so you kind of know what the situation is with that one, but I will keep you posted. You're a goofball. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you guys can see this, but he's like sitting on his head so that more of his back is where I can pet it. Alright, so at this point I'm going to move on to Prattle and hopefully finish that up pretty quickly because it is getting dark. If you are out for now, this is the end of this sort of crafty related stuff. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again next time, and otherwise, stay tuned. He's such a goofball. Oh my goodness. Whoa, elevator butt. They scratch up, gets his little elevator butt. Oh my goodness. Alright. So, Prattle. Other things that are going on in my life today. I just got back from vacation. I spent, oh geez, you haven't seen me in almost 3 weeks. So, I had a couple of days after I last podcasted left in the week. I finished that out, and then it's just been crazy time. I got ready for vacation. Going to vacation was really good. It was the first real family reunion that we've had in probably about 5 years, and one of my cousins, initially it started because one of my cousins had heart failure earlier in March, and we were told he really didn't have very long to live, and so he's doing a lot better now. Hopefully he stays in remission. I'm looking at you if you're watching this. But it was really good just to see everybody. There were a lot of people there that I hadn't seen in... My wedding doesn't count. You don't actually ever see anybody at your wedding. You just run around like a crazy person. So there were a lot of people that I hadn't seen for about 5 years before that, and it was so good to see them. And in a lot of ways, the vacation itself symbolized passing of the torch, and I got to really connect with a lot of my cousins in ways that I hadn't before. And one of my cousins that was my age that was there, he and I were sort of able to be to the youngest cousins what their parents were to us, to teach them the card games, to take them to the water park without their parents, and it was moments of nostalgia, realizing that this really was, our family wasn't going to fall apart, it wasn't going to collapse. And there's been various things over the past few years, some deaths in the family of matriarchs, and there's nobody owns a place at which we really get together anymore. We have to rent one. And so it was really symbolic of the fact that the family is going to keep going and we love each other. And I laughed harder on that vacation than I have in so long. And oh my gosh, I'm going to put some pictures in here. There's one picture of all of us on a day bed. That's actually where I slept while I was there. It's kind of right in the middle of the corridor, but who cares? And we're all just goofing off and laughing our hearts out, and we went body surfing on the beach, and oh, it was just wonderful. And then there's another picture of my cousin and I, or my two cousins and I, we were getting on a roller coaster and we took a stupid selfie before we screamed our heads off, and it was really great to see everybody and to go to the boardwalk and ride all the rides that I had missed from when I was a kid, and scream and laugh and play card games and build sand castles and body surf and stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning because I only had 3 nights with my cousins and I could. And before I went, last time when I was recording, my husband was just starting to get sick, and he was sick for about a week, and then I was sick for a couple days. So I really did rush right into it, and he wasn't able to go because he was at a work conference. And they overlapped with each other, so come here. No? Okay. So it was really good to just be able to do that, even though he wasn't able to come. And then I flew back in Tuesday, and I started recording this today, Wednesday. So, the other thing that's happening soon is school is going to start. I work in a school system. I've mentioned that before. I am just about ready to scream my head off and blow my head off with stress, and oh my goodness, there's so much going on. I'm crazy mode. So I don't know when you'll see me next. I will try and do it again in 2 weeks, but there's really no guarantees about that. And then on top of that, I do have, some people have been asking me about those tutorials for the blanket, and I do have that tutorial that I'm going to probably make and put up if people, you know, give me a thumbs up that they would like that. And I think what I'm gonna do is, if there's some times when I'm just way too stressed to do a podcast 2 weeks in a row, or you know what I mean, every other week, I'm gonna use the tutorial when I would normally do the podcast and do it the third week instead. The tutorials are gonna be, if I do it, it's probably gonna be like 4 segments maybe. So let me know if you're interested in those, and otherwise I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great day. Bye!